Single dads with daughters too young to use a restroom alone, what are you supposed to do? As a man, you don't really overthink it until someone forces you to. When I take my daughter into a public restroom, like the ones at a mall, I keep her right beside me. I block the view of the urinals and head straight for a stall. When she was really little, 3 or 4, I'd go into the stall with her to help her up onto the toilet. Around 5 and 6, I'd just wait outside the stall and let her manage it herself. It was never a big deal to me, and I've watched plenty of other dads do exactly the same thing. The only person who ever turned it into a scene was one woman at an outlet mall. We were out shopping for her back-to-school clothes when she tugged my sleeve. "Daddy, I need the bathroom, really bad." I took her hand and headed for the one we'd passed earlier. But just before I could lead her in, a woman stepped in front of us and grabbed my daughter's arm. "What do you think you're doing?" she said, loud enough that everyone nearby turned. "You're dragging a little girl into the men's room." I was stunned. I'd done this hundreds of times and never had a problem. "This is my daughter. She's safer with me than with anyone." "Safer? In a men's room?" She scoffed and said I should just have my wife take her into the women's room. I told her flatly that my wife passed away 2 years ago and asked her to please let go of my daughter's arm. Her grip didn't loosen. That's when my daughter looked up at me, eyes welling, and said, "I'll go by myself, Daddy. It's okay." I crouched down. "You sure?" She nodded. "Then come right back out the same door you go in, okay?" She let go of my hand and walked off into the women's restroom by herself for the first time. I stood outside, heart pounding, hands sweating. Then I heard shouting from inside. I want to pause here, because the source version sends the dad charging into the women's restroom in a way that mostly plays for a confrontation. Realistically, a parent in this spot would grab help fast, and the version where he protects his kid without making her ordeal, the centerpiece lands better and keeps everyone squarely on his side. So here's how I'd carry it. I didn't hesitate, but I also wasn't going to walk in there blind and hand that woman a story. I called out for someone to help, and a security guard who'd noticed the commotion at the entrance was already coming over. A mother walking out held the door and said, "There's a man's little girl in here being screamed at. Go." I went in with the guard a step behind me. The same woman had my daughter cornered by the sinks, gripping her arm, her face inches away. "Do you even know how to use a toilet? Look at the mess you made." My daughter was sobbing, apologizing over and over, trying to pull free. There was a little splash on the floor and the seat, exactly the kind of thing that happens when a 6-year-old can't reach an adult-sized toilet. I scooped my daughter up and got her behind me. "Let go of her, now!" The woman spun to the guard. "He's a man in the women's restroom. Arrest him." The guard had already heard enough from the women filing out, and one of them spoke up before he could. She had a child by the arm screaming in her face. He came in because of her. Another woman added, "I watched a mom bring her son in here 10 minutes ago and you didn't say a word. What's the difference?" The woman's face went red. She started in about how she was only trying to protect kids, but nobody was buying it anymore. The guard asked her to come with him to sort it out, and as she was walked off, she snapped something bitter over her shoulder. I didn't even hear the end of it. I was busy wiping my daughter's tears. One of the moms helped me clean up the little mess and crouched down to my girl's level. "You didn't do anything wrong, sweetheart. That lady was the one being unkind." My daughter sniffled and nodded. The guard came back a few minutes later and told me the woman had been asked to leave the property and that I had nothing to worry about. On the drive home, my daughter was quiet, then asked if she'd been bad. I told her no, that some grown-ups get mixed up about what's actually dangerous and what isn't, and that I would always come for her, every single time, no matter which door she walked through. She's 7 now, and goes on her own without a second thought. We've never had a problem since, and I learned something that day too. The people around you are usually better than the loudest person in the room. When it counted, a restroom full of strangers stood up for a single dad and his kid. I haven't forgotten it.